Hi Karen, how are you?
Hi there, I'm doing great. So delighted to be on with you around the globe. I love
Yes,
this.
and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So friends, we have Karen Hand here. So let me introduce you all a bit about her. She is a board certified hypnotist, trainer, mentor, international best-selling author, and world-class communicator. Her 30-year career as a Chicago radio personality was the perfect foundation for using language to help others exercise their imagination. Karen's transition to hypnosis repurposed that skill, and since 2005, she has helped thousands of people take control of their life, and she's trained countless hypnotists and NLPers to help others change for good. Karen sees clients and conducts training in her Chicago office and globally via Zoom. She has received many awards, including Hypnotist of the Year, Educator of the Year, Leadership Award, IMDHA Pen and Quill Award of Literary Excellence, and the IACT Distinguished Service Award. Karen is the author of Magic Words and Language Patterns, the Hypnotist Essential Guide to Crafting Irresistible Suggestions, Hypnotic Workshops Like a Pro, co-written by Kelley T. Trance Dance, The Hypnotic Art of Leading and Following, and Hypnosis so easy you can do it with your eyes closed or wide open. Amazing. So that's in a nutshell about Karen. So
Wow,
Karen,
thank you.
you might have been asked this question so many times. How did you come into hypnosis?
Well, it's not your traditional route, I don't think.
Hmm.
It was not anything that I was even considering. I had a radio career, I was a radio personality. And at the time, I also did a talk show. My co host on the talk show was a psychiatrist, and we did a relationship show. I always often thought that I would go back and get a degree, a medical degree in psychiatry, and I just never worked up the interest for it. So on this talk show, we once had a couple of hypnotists on the show
Hmm.
to, make fun of people, make them bark like dogs and quack like ducks and stuff like that. And these intrepid hypnotists didn't do that. They talked about the efficacy of hypnosis, the way it can be used to change bad habits or sleep better or things like that. And I was very intrigued. So I went out to their hypnosis center, I got hypnotized. And right there, I said, that's what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So
Oh,
while I never could make time or develop the motivation to go back to school to get a medical degree, I instantly started learning about hypnosis. I took a certification training. I became certified as a hypnotist. And the next time a radio contract came up, I didn't renew. I
okay.
changed my career and became a hypnotist. I opened a hypnosis center instead.
Wow.
And at that time, I believe go big or go home. Another friend of mine who actually told me about these hypnotists, a radio friend, had been interested in hypnosis even before I was. And we had always thought about putting a business together so we could have fun together. And she was out of radio at the time. I didn't renew my contract. So we opened a really large hypnosis center. We employed 5 hypnotists and we specialized in weight loss and smoking cessation. So that's kind of how I got into it. Do you want to know the most interesting thing I learned about that big hypnosis center? It was a franchise business. Now, do you guys have franchises
Yes,
where you
yes,
are? Like McDonald's, right?
yes.
And so in a franchise, one of the things, at least in America, that franchises are required to do is everything is the same. So that if you go into a franchise on one part of the country and then you go into that franchise in another part of the country, you'll get the same quality, you'll get the same food, the same menu. The same was true for a hypnosis center. Remember, I didn't know anything about hypnosis or business. So what I really did was I bought a business in a box.
Okay.
They showed us how to do a business. Does that make sense? And we just had to hypnotize people.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that kind of hypnosis, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But the way that franchise business was set up, the man who owned it had recorded hypnosis processes with clients for years.
Oh,
He
okay.
had those processes transcribed
Mhm.
and turned into 26 sessions. In
Oh,
those 26 sessions, there were scripts, 26 scripts. There was some regression, there was some parts therapy included in there, there was some progressive muscle relaxation, all sorts of things included. And it was really based on NLP techniques. So you went looking for resources, you modeled somebody else to borrow benefits. It was really very thorough. The interesting thing is that we signed people to either 6-month or 1-year contracts. If
okay.
somebody had more than 50 pounds to lose, they signed up for a year. If they had less than 50 pounds to lose, that was a 6-month contract. Those are
Oh,
pretty much the franchise rules. Now,
okay.
hear this. On the first session, every client got the same script for the first session, period.
Mm.
Every client got the same script for the second session, the third session, the fourth session, etc. If they were signed up for a whole year, on session number 27, they got week 1 again because we only had 26 scripts.
Yes. So it repeats.
Yes. Now, here's what I find most interesting. We were just reading scripts to clients. That really is what we were doing, just reading the same script over and over and over to clients. And we had about an 80% success rate.
Oh,
Phenomenal.
wow.
80% success rate, just reading desultory scripts to clients as they came in. It was amazing. Fortunately, I was really concerned about the 20% that weren't helped with this particular system. And so I went back and got more training. I doubled down on the training. I trained with some of the best trainers I could find at the time in regression and parts therapy and all the different forms of hypnotherapy that can be done, right? I really wanted to help the 20%. As soon as I started helping the 20% and doing things off the franchise menu, which interestingly gave us a better success rate, the franchise didn't want us anymore because we were doing things off the menu.
Yes.
Well, we divorced the franchise. It was an expensive proposition, but we broke off from the franchise. We went on with our own business, doing it our own way. And then my life began to change. My mother became ill. I took her into my home. I became a full-time caregiver. And so my business partner was really doing most of the business. We ended up closing that business because it really just wasn't fair to her. I was stuck in my home, so I took all of those clients that we had and finished out their contracts in my home so I could still care for my mother. My mother has since passed on, but what I discovered in that is I love working from home. I don't know if you can see it very well. Here's my office. There's a separate entrance and places to sit. There's lovely recliner, right?
Yes.
And so I went ahead and turned this separate entity in my home into a home office. Loved it and started seeing clients here. And then the pandemic hit. And I had already taken, I'm going to drop a name if you don't mind, I'd already taken the virtual hypnotist training from my friend Michael Watson. And so I was already working on Zoom. When the pandemic hit, I didn't lose a day's worth of business because all of my clients started then seeing me on Zoom.
Oh,
And now my business is exclusively Zoom. I've got a beautiful home office, but it's just for me now because I see all of my clients like this online.
amazing.
That's the trajectory of my business.
Okay. Thank you.
What questions do you have now?
Yes, yes, Karen, a lot. So, Karen, you have been trained in different methods of hypnotherapy. One such as like, either or approach. I usually see like someone purely practice Ericksonian style. some practice Elmanian style and other stuff because they don't want to mix and match. But I have seen like you combine multiple things. So how is your perspective on combining different modalities and delivering the sessions to the clients?
Well, I think Dave Ellman and Milton Erickson offered us a beautiful foundation for what we do. But they weren't the first. Back in ancient hypnosis history, you might have learned about the Greek sleep temples, right?
Yes.
And the Greek sleep temples, that was hypnosis. Somebody decided to go to the temple. They were ill. They wanted the priest to make them healthy. So they went to the Greek sleep temple. They traded their clothes for a robe. The priest walked them down smells and chanting people to the big temple. There was a slab. They laid down on the slab. The priest said some magic words over them and then said, I'm going to go away for the evening, leave you in here. You will heal overnight. And in the morning, you will feel much better. That's hypnosis, right? In the very simplest of terms, the suggestion you will feel better. Most people felt better. That to me really is the lowest common denominator of what hypnosis is. And to me, it is all about the client, the person, making a decision to seek help and turning it over to somebody else. It works in religion. It works in spirituality. It works in human nature. Moving up to this century, there was a doctor, Lissa Rankin, who became very interested in spontaneous remissions. And so she quit her doctor practice and studied for 2 years why some people spontaneously get over cancer or heal or other things. And one of the interesting things she determined in that 2-year study was that people start to heal, start to get better, typically, as soon as they call the doctor and make an appointment.
Oh, wow.
Notice it in your own life. If you have a relative or somebody who is sick, and then they call the doctor and make an appointment, notice how they begin, or notice how you begin to feel better almost immediately.
Wow.
It's an amazing phenomenon. That, I believe, is self-hypnosis. I believe that in those Greek sleep temples, somebody decided to seek help and get better. That's the self-hypnosis part. Then they relaxed and turned it over to somebody else, and most people healed. I think that's phenomenal. So that's the ancient way of doing it, just very simple, self-assisted self-hypnosis, I like to call it, because you do the hypnosis on yourself first, deciding to do it, right? And then you seek the help of the priest or whomever, and that solidifies the change, and the mind goes ahead and does what it needs to do. We do the very same thing today in modern day times when we go to a movie. We're at home, we decide to go to the movie, we drive to the movie theater, or we turn on the television, as the case may be, or watch our computer. We pay a fee. If we go to a movie theater, we give our ticket to the ticket taker. We walk through the popcorn and other smells going into the theater. We walk down a long hallway. We sit in the entertainment chamber, make ourselves comfortable, and wait for the movie to unfold. You've chosen the movie. You have decided to be entertained. You go in and you relax. That, again, is self-hypnosis. And you can turn yourself over to the movie if you've made a wise choice. Not all suggestions are taken, right? So you either take the suggestion to enjoy or you don't take the suggestion to enjoy. That's your choice. And that happens in any kind of hypnosis, whether it's Elmanian, Ericksonian, or whatever. So people have been doing this type of suggestion and acceptance since the beginning of time.
Yes.
Dave Ellman came along and he wrote some rules around it with the things he had studied in stage hypnosis. Milton Erickson did his study in mental hospitals and worked with people who had real out-of-the-box thinking, right? And they both had success with the population they were dealing with. doing it their way. Erickson sort of told stories. He sort of believed in the client having all the resources that they need, and they can go ahead and make the changes they make. Dave Ellman believed that you could say the words to them and they would take the suggestions and change. Very simplified methods, right? Along came John Grinder and Richard Bandler, and they studied all of these healers and came up with neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which again put all of those modeling steps into steps, all the modeling areas into steps, and people can follow those steps these days. Dave Ellman and Milton Erickson both died more than 50 years ago.
Yes.
If they were still alive today, they would have evolved their techniques to modern day as well, right? In the olden days, Dave Ellman really helped us explain to people who knew nothing about hypnosis how to explain the phenomenon. And he used some stage tricks and that kind of thing. Remember, Dave Ellman was an entertainer. He used entertainment techniques to help someone understand that they needed to make a decision and they needed to carry out the decision. And most people didn't know a whole lot about hypnosis. I don't find that to be true in modern day society. I don't find in my dealings with clients that I really have to explain a lot about hypnosis to them at all. Most of my clients, I'm an expensive hypnotist. They have to make an appointment with me to come see me, right? They show up, they've paid the money. Most people have decided to get better already, right? Yeah. These days, we have the internet. If you're curious about hypnosis, you ask Siri or Alexa, or you type in what is hypnosis and you get an answer. You can go to Chat GPT and say, give me an explanation of hypnosis, and it'll write a beautiful explanation. So I don't think that I need to necessarily bust any myths or change any minds. And I wouldn't anyway, because I believe that we're always communicating. So if somebody comes into me and they want to be hypnotized, I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, I can't make you tell me secrets. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. If they didn't think they would tell me secrets, why am I going to install that suggestion to them in the first place, right? So I wait and let them ask questions. If they have a question about secrets, I'll definitely answer that. But I also trust that they have done a little bit of research before they schedule the appointment. I don't know about you, but I certainly wouldn't make a reservation at a very expensive restaurant if I wasn't reasonably sure that I would get a good meal, right? I would get a referral or I would learn something about it before I committed myself to that. And I believe that my clients are just the same. They've looked into some things. They've studied some things. They saw a video of me on my website or someplace else and decided that we already had rapport established long before I ever meet them. They already know me because I'm out there. They've super selected themselves into working with me already. So we get to go ahead and start doing the work right from there. And I do not assume that they're going to do well with metaphor. I don't assume that they're going to do well with direct suggestion. I really don't assume anything about them. I let them tell me their story. And I let them tell me what they want to change and why they want to change it now, what is their leverage to make this change now. And as I listen to that story, it only takes a couple of minutes. They really tell me an awful lot about them. And we go from there. We decide there. Do you mind if I give you an example?
Yes, please.
I really don't do what I call hocus pocus hypnosis. I don't do a lot of convincers or sticking your fingers together, that kind of thing. That's not necessarily my style. But I had a call one day. I have taken stage hypnosis courses, by the way. I could do a stage show if I wanted to. I got a call one day from a guy who said, can you change taste buds? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, I saw a stage show last night and the hypnotists changed their taste buds. They all had lollipops, they had suckers, and they were licking on them and enjoying them. And all of a sudden he said, now everything tastes like poo. And they were spitting out they didn't like it. He said, can you do that? And I said, well, now wait a minute. Do you want all of your food to taste like poo? Because if that's what he wanted, no, he wasn't my client, right?
Yes.
I manage expectations too. But he said, no, 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 no. He said, I'm Catholic and Lent is going to start in a week and I hate fish. And I would really like to this year be able to eat fish on Wednesday and Friday during Lent and enjoy it. Can you do that? And I said, absolutely, come on in. Now, I was still seeing people in person then. This was a few years ago. So I already knew some things about this client just in that short conversation. I
Yes.
knew that his belief system, I like to talk about our BS, our belief system. I knew that his belief system included the thought of magic, that things can magically be done to another person to help them change. So knowing that, I realized that this man was going to need some hypnotic phenomenon to believe that it would work with him. So when he came into my office, yes, I made his arm stiff and rigid like a steel bar. He couldn't bend it. I stuck his hand to his leg. He couldn't get his hand off of his leg, right? And oh, yes, we stuck his fingers together. We put magnets at the tips of his fingers. We did a couple of those things and he was convinced, oh, yes, I can be hypnotized. And then you know what? I believe that it wouldn't have mattered what I said to him. I could have read, you know, uh, an essay to him and it would have worked because he had already decided to change. We did a little regression because he told me that he knew. I don't do age regression with everybody, but I do age regression when a client says, I know exactly where it started. All right, let's regress to there and find out. Or if the client has an emotion that is really outsized for the event, someone who has a phobia, often regression to the cause will work for that. Or if somebody regresses in front of me, in other words, if they become younger as they're telling me the story, right, in their vocal tone or something like that, then I do age regression. So with this guy, he told me, I know exactly where it started. It started when I was in grade school and I came home from lunch one day and my mother served fish sticks and I've hated fish ever since. We regressed right back to that time, right there, without a formal induction, without anything else. I simply said, wow, go back there in your mind and tell me about that. He closed his eyes. I didn't even ask him to close his eyes. He closed his eyes and he told me there were the fish sticks. He hated them. He pushed them away. And I'm never going to eat fish again, was what he said he declared to his mother. In my belief, that's the day that he gave himself a suggestion that he has duly followed ever since. Incredible self-hypnosis, because it was about 30 years later that he came to see me. So that was an incredible self-hypnotic, post-hypnotic suggestion, was it not? But I recognized that this little child downloaded a behavior that day. Just like on our cell phones, that behavior app was running in the background consistently, ready to jump out whenever he thought he might need it. So we looked at that. We went through that. I said, so then what did you eat? I just asked him in this regressive memory. So what did you eat? And he kind of said, well, my mom gave me a cheese sandwich. And I said, so you didn't go hungry or anything like that? No, I just chose something else. But now understand that the behavior and the decision, I hate fish, has already been downloaded for this little kid. So I inquired of the little child. I said, if you had had ketchup to put on that, would you have eaten it? And the little child said, yeah, I like ketchup. So we went ahead and did informed child techniques and things like that to neutralize that resistance right there. And as we grew that little boy up, the grown-up told him, you can choose ketchup or any other kind of topping that you want to put on your fish if you want to. So he grew up, he said, yes, I'm good. He left. And that night, he texted me from a fish restaurant saying he'd just ordered tilapia with mango salsa, and it was phenomenal. At the end of Lent that year, he sent me an email saying that he had eaten fish for Lent on Wednesday and Friday every day that month during Lent and loved it and was now a fan of fish. Now, what I'm in telling that story, what I want to say is he did all the work. He told me the way to work with him because he said, I know exactly when it happened. That's when I decided to use regression as opposed to hypnotic phenomena, any other hypnotic phenomenon of that kind. If he'd have said to me, a part of me wants to do this and a part of me wants to like fish and a part doesn't, well, that would have indicated some parts therapy, right? Or looking at different parts. If he'd have said, I can't forgive myself for making that decision, then we would go down a forgiveness road. They're always going to tell me where to work. They're always going to tell me right what to target and where to begin, right? And we'll begin at that point. I had one woman, if you have the question, what if they don't know? I had a woman who wanted to lose some weight, but she had no idea what to eat or how to eat. She thought she ate really healthily, and so she wasn't sure what to do. She exercised, and I asked her, do you know anybody who is the size you want to be and they eat in a different way than you do? And she said, well, yes, she went to lunch with a woman who eats very differently, who always eats her favorite thing first. Now, the client said, she always eats what she likes best first, even her dessert sometimes. And so she indicated to me in the way she told it, her facial expressions, the tone of voice, that was not in her belief system at all. So I asked her, because now I'm thinking she didn't know what to do, right? So now I'm thinking, let's maybe borrow some benefits. So I asked her to go for that 1 week. The next week, she was coming back in a week. I asked her to spend that whole week really watching what the woman does and modeling what she does and trying it out for 1 full week, ordering what she wanted, not changing her diet at all, and eating the thing that she liked first. She thought that was a stupid idea. She said, I might eat dessert first. Oh, well, because this client told me that I asked her, well, how do you eat? Once she told me what she observed from this woman, I said, well, how do you do it? And she said, oh, I always save the best for last because I want the best taste in my mouth last. It also indicated to me why she always ate everything on her plate, because she had already made up her mind to save the best for last.
Yeah.
When she changed it to eating what she liked first, she pushed food away because she got full and noticed her fullness signal. And so she would stop eating even with food left on the plate. She lost 3 pounds that week, just by changing the way she eats, by borrowing a benefit from somebody else. Now, that's more of an NLP or Ericksonian technique than a direct suggestion. It worked for that client. So what I decided to do a long time ago was work less and have more success.
Okay.
I just let the clients tell me what the issue is and how they arrived at this issue, how they expect that they'll fix the issue or change the issue, and then we go from there. And I really develop that rapport with them and leave them space to come up with their own solutions. They always have them. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, a lot.
Did that answer your question? I went off telling stories, so I'm sorry
Yes,
about that. I hope I answered your question.
yes, it did answer, Karen. And Karen, like, what are your suggestions? Because, some are age-old techniques, some are like, how can one keep themselves updated? What are your suggestions to the practicing hypnotherapists?
Listen. pay attention. I was training, thank you for asking this question, because I was training a student. I was doing a certification training. And in my certification trainings, my students always have to hypnotize somebody in front of me as their final. I get to watch them actually work beginning to end with the client. And in this particular case, my student, and I let them use scripts or any kind of techniques they want to use or whatever, I don't try to make my students me. I try to make them the best hypnotists they can be. So this student was ready to go, except he forgot all of his scripts. He didn't have his scripts with him. He had to just think it through, which was great. So with the client he worked with, he did a control room of the mind technique. Now, you may know the control room of the mind. I'll explain it just really quickly. You take a client to a master room in their mind, right? They go into the room. It's dark. In the center of the room, there's a book that is their manual for their life. They open their manual to what they want to change, and all around the room, there are dials and switches that control everything in their body: blood pressure, heart rate, size, weight, legs, ears, whatever. And they go around to the control room and they can make any of the changes they want to make to it. That's the gist of the technique, right? Very simple. This student, working from memory, had the client go down this long hallway and walk up to a door. It was a locked door, but on the side, there was a passcode. They just entered their passcode, and the client said, and you remember your passcode, so you enter it simply now. That's what the student told the client, which, by the way, I went, wow, that's updated and new, because that's hip and young, right? So they put the student said to their client, and you'll see the passcode key in right next to it, and you remember your passcode. So you put it in. I love that because it stopped any resistance to, oh my God, I can't remember my code, right? You remember your passcode. So then he did the whole control room entity. And then typically in the control room, something is said about, and all of these changes will last, or you can make all of these changes last as long as you want to, or whatever. This student of mine said to his client, when everything was done, he said, now, you'll see the save button right there. Go ahead and save all of your changes so that they will last permanently.
Wow.
Well, I learned right then and there how to update that particular technique or script, right? With new things, because this was a younger man than me, and he put in all of that new computer technology stuff, right? Passcodes and save buttons and things like that. Instantly, I upgraded all of my stuff. The scripts that I give to my students now have the passcode and the save stuff written into the script now.
No.
That's how I suggest that we evolve. We pay attention. If we continue to do the Dave Ellman induction just as it is, that's fine. That's fine. Use it because it works. It works really well. I have no problem with what works. Use what works. But what I really like to do is upgrade the metaphors, the stories we're telling, because that upgrades our techniques, right?
Okay. Right.
Just like in the olden days when I would explain to my clients, I would use maybe a computer model to explain the mind. There isn't a mind. You can't find it on an fMRI machine. It's something, it's a metaphor, right? It's a story. So the way I used to explain it to them, I really don't explain it that way anymore with the computer model. I use a cell phone model instead. Everybody has a cell phone. It comes with a great operating system. And instantly when we get our cell phone, we start customizing it for ourselves. We download game apps, we download scheduling apps, we download all the apps we need. And sometimes those apps need to be deleted or upgraded, or they will slow down the operations of our phone. Same thing happens with humans. The day we're born, we start downloading behaviors to protect ourselves. Like that little 7-year-old boy who downloaded the I hate fish behavior app, right? And it was there running in the background, just like the apps on your phone run. at all times. That one app, that one behavior needed upgrading. It needed to be rewritten, or it needed to be deleted and a new behavior downloaded in its place. My clients really understand that. They understand that a behavior running in the background will slow us down, will weaken us, will hurt our bandwidth, right? They can understand that metaphor. And they also, with that metaphor, understand that we're not changing them as a human being. We're changing one little thing that is easy because it's only one little thing in the whole makeup of who they are. All of those suggestions are layered into that metaphor. So as I talk to my clients about that, it's putting them at ease. It lets them know that we're not making wholesale changes, that we're just, oh yeah, we're just going to upgrade that one app. It sounds so easy. And that's really what it's all about, is allowing the client to believe that the change will be easy, right? And so I have upgraded the metaphors. In upgrading the metaphors, my beliefs are upgraded. My beliefs are changed. And when I listen to what my client gives me and tells me, that tells me exactly what to do and how to work with them. So that's my suggestion. Listen, read everything that you can read, and then do it. There's only one way to get good at hypnosis: doing hypnosis.
Yes.
Because that's the only way that you really figure out how to be flexible. If we're very rigid, we will have some success. If we're very flexible, we will have even more success.
And Karen, there are like, again, there's something called solution focus based hypnotherapy. Like, just let us talk only about solutions, and you do not have to regress the clients or etc., etc. So some people like, no, first let us go into the regression, work there and do this. So there comes at situations, this either or approaches have evolved. I guess solution focus has its own beautiful style. Regression, Gilboin's method or Elmanian and all that, Jerry Kine and all that. What do you see? Where do we draw the line? Like, it's all about, okay, every client comes, I'll do only regression, doesn't work, like you have said just now. And some clients come, no, whatever might be, I'll do only solution focused. But maybe that might not click. So when it is coming to either or approach, what is your suggestion, Karen?
So I believe that you should do what you believe in. Okay. It's hypnosis is all BS. Elmanian hypnosis, but I don't mean that off-color American term for BS. I mean belief system. It's all about belief system. So if you have a client like the guy who saw the stage show, even though I don't really do that kind of stuff in my office, when I have a client who believes in that, it is incumbent upon me to provide some of that for the client so they can believe that this is going to work. We're working with beliefs. We're only working with beliefs. Now, if the hypnotist believes that they have to do the Elmanian approach for it to work, then I guess they better do the Elmanian approach or they won't believe it works, right? If somebody believes that only storytelling will work, they better tell stories because that's what they believe. I happen to believe that all of it has merit, all of it can work, and the only thing that will work is what the client believes will work. So I like to leave my beliefs outside. I decided to learn enough about all of it that I could use it if I needed to. Now, this didn't come easy, okay? Because I did take, along my new training, I did take a protocol course on regression therapy. And it was a very well fleshed out protocol. And the trainer was very adamant about do it this way every time and it will work. And you must do this for everything, every single time. And if it doesn't work, it's because of you. It's because
Oh,
you didn't do something wrong. So come back for more training
okay.
because you're doing something wrong. This was very forceful. And by the way, this person has an awful lot of followers. He's actually, in my opinion, running kind of a hypnosis cult because he's got a lot of people believing that it's the protocol that works. The
Okay.
protocol does work, but not every time. I'm very suggestible. I'll be right up front about that. I took his suggestion and did that particular protocol the way it was supposed to be done over and over and over and over again. And the first time it didn't work, I went back and studied some more. I called for help. Oh my gosh, there must be something wrong with my approach. And I did it again and did it again and did it again. And again, a second time, it didn't work. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Sometimes I'm a slow learner. The third time, that protocol didn't work. And I knew for a fact that I had done the protocol exactly as stated. That's the time I realized, oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's not me. Maybe it's the protocol,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes people realize, oh, maybe it's the diet. Maybe it's not me. Maybe the protocol is failing. I had to come to that realization experientially on my own. And when I learned that, I said, oh, maybe there is no technique or protocol or system that works for everyone every time.
Yes.
Isn't that good common sense? There
Yes.
isn't one thing that works for everyone every single time. So that's when I changed what I did and decided to learn as many protocols as I could possibly learn, as many techniques as I could possibly learn, and keep them all in one giant tool chest. And then listen carefully to my client. And I don't pre-assume anything except I presuppose that my client will be able to make the change, that my client will continue to protect themselves, and that they will get to the solution that works best for them. So, yes, I'm very solution based. I want to find solutions, but I need them to tell me a little bit about what stopped them from getting to that solution already.
Yes.
First, right? What's stopping you so that we can work on that? That's looking at history a little bit.
Yes.
Where did this behavior get downloaded? Let's see if we can neutralize it there. Or let's just rewrite the app. It doesn't make any difference to me how they get there.
Awesome.
I'm not married to a technique or a protocol. I am married to listening to my client and working with their belief system so that we can get them over the edge.
Thank you.
That's that's the way I look at it.
And Karen, you have written different books, and could you please tell a bit about having the mastery of language patterns, metaphors, and stories? How are they going to make difference in the therapeutic work?
So my book, Magic Words and Language Patterns, I wrote because so many people were so dependent on scripts, scripted material. And scripts are wonderful things. But if somebody's spending 3 hours looking for the perfect script for an issue without being with their client, the client might change on them when they get there. And so all of that work is for nothing. So I wrote Magic Words and Language Patterns to help people understand how to write their own scripts so they
Oh,
don't have to go looking for a script. And it really is neuro-linguistic programming languaging. And I really like language. When I did a radio show, language is all I had to work with, right? So Magic Words and Language Patterns talks about certain words that really get over any resistance that we might have easily, automatically, naturally. Words like that don't really register with the conscious mind. The subconscious mind hears them and takes them in. So that's what makes them magic, words like that. Words like because, an English-speaking human, when they hear the word because, it puts their conscious mind in the resistance at ease because they're going to get an answer to any question they might have. Just that word because. So that book includes some words like that, and then things that we can say, Americanized words, English sort of phrases that easily clear resistance.
Okay.
You probably already know. You probably already know how to do that. Just saying the words you probably already know has someone go into their memory bank and look for something that matches that. Right? So you're building rapport in using languaging like that. So I wrote that book to help people write scripts on the fly. So I give them cheat sheets in the book. So all they have to do is put in what the client is asking for strategically into the blank spaces, and they've got a script already written for the session. And then I wrote Trance Dance to teach people what questions to ask so that they will get all of this information that they need to fill in the blanks to write the script.
Wow.
So it really includes the questions to ask that you can riff off of and how to move in different directions through the session. That's what Trance Dance was written for. Hypnotic workshops like a pro I did with Kelly Woods because we were doing a lot of workshops. And so we wanted to show people how to go out and introduce hypnosis to either their clients or to others in group settings. And then I wrote Hypnosis So Easy You Can Do It With Your Eyes Closed or Wide Open, because I think we are always doing hypnosis all the time, all of us, without the help of a hypnotist. So Hypnosis So Easy is really a book describing how we're using hypnosis in our real world lives at all times. If you've ever been in a relationship where you thought that everything was going great, and then all of a sudden the person you were with turned out to be a real loser, right? It could be because you were practicing positive hallucination. Remember, in depth training, positive and negative hallucinations, according to Harry Aarons, were the deepest levels of hypnosis. If after a year or two you discover the person that you've been with is a different person, it could be because you were positively hallucinating attributes on that person that you wanted, and you were seeing the attributes even if they weren't there. That would be positive hallucination, and it's just a natural thing that humans do. If you're looking through the refrigerator for a certain spice, or looking through the spice rack for a certain spice, and you keep saying, there's no curry, there's no curry, there's no curry, there's no curry. In America, we have a spice that is curry. We don't make our own, okay? There's no curry, there's no curry, there's no curry. You're giving yourself this suggestion. You ask somebody else, hey, what happened to the curry spice? They can walk in and go, it's right there. Because they weren't giving themselves the suggestion that it's not there. So that would be negative hallucination. We're doing that all the time in our regular lives. So what that book is about, and it's a free ebook that anybody can get today on my website, KarenHand.com. That book really describes how we're using hypnosis all the time to arrive at the decisions that we arrive at, and how to use hypnosis to arrive at a different decision that might work better for us.
And
we're all using it. It's not magic.
Yes. And Karen, what kind of trainings do you conduct? Do you offer online trainings as well? Could you please tell about some of the trainings that you offer?
Yes, most of my trainings are online now. I train NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, for hypnotists, because it can be a little different for sales than it is for hypnosis. It's really all the same thing, just applied differently. So I train NLP for hypnotists. I do a certification training, usually once a year, where I'm birthing brand new hypnotists, and I do advanced hypnosis training throughout the year. So once a month, I will train a new technique or train a way to do a technique in a new way. That is ongoing training. And then I do mentoring. I offer mentoring programs one-on-one for people who want to advance their hypnosis education. I do all of that really on Zoom.
Oh, wonderful. Right. Thank you very much, Karen. This was very useful. And especially the books, when you were explaining, I felt like, no, it is a must-have books for every practicing hypnotherapist, so that they're very handy, and no need to look for scripts or anything. And mastering this language patterns really helped. And
I have a new one coming out later this year on metaphors. So it'll be a brand new one coming out this year on
oh,
eliciting metaphors, the workable metaphors from your clients.
awesome. And all these books available on Amazon, Karen? Your
The Hypnosis So Easy is only available. It's a free ebook, and it's only available on my website, karenhand.com. Everything else is available on Amazon.
Okay, I'll make sure that those links are also given under the YouTube description below the video, so that people who are interested can find the link easily.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate the time that you gave me today.
Thank you very much for your time, Karen, because I want people to understand, learn or utilize what are the various resources available in the field of hypnosis and other modalities, so that they get better at their skills and help others in a better way.
It all works. Acupuncture works, massage works, EFT works. It all works. Learn it. Use it wherever you can.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you.